Ladies and gentlemen, it is me, Soul. I am back again. Welcome to another episode of the Soul Sessions. Today we have a special guest. We have Beau WP Crockett. Beau, welcome to the show, pal.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
No worries. First thing I always like to do on the Soul Session is how are you? How's your day?
Not too bad, not too bad. Another day on the grind. You know how it is.
That's it, mate. Always grinding, making that dollar, eh?
Yes, sir.
Well, first thing first, Beau, just for the fans who are not familiar with yourself, introduce yourself. Who is Beau WP Crockett?
Well, Beau Crockett, WP is just a designation for wrestling page, so that's okay. I am a pro wrestler. I'm based in Virginia, here in the U.S. I have been wrestling for 11 years, almost 12 now. There have been many iterations of Beau Crockett. There's been the Beau Show. There's been me as one half of the tag team, Cutie and the Beast. I've been a member of the Carnies. It's been a ride.
Hey, speaking of Cutie and the Beast, I watched your match you had back in 2016, and it was actually pretty good. I was really enjoying it. Working tag matches must be quite demanding. Are they quite a lot different from single matches?
What was that? You were breaking up a little bit.
I saw your match in 2016 against Ethan A. Sharp and Rayo with Money Green. How was that working, that match?
Oh, yeah. That was actually Cutie and the Beast's second ever match together. That was fun. That was in the storytelling aspect, we were more of just coming together as a team after our first rocky start, so to speak.
Talk about that start. What was that like, tagging in the first place? Was it quite nerve-wracking, or was it,
It was a complete accident that team even happened in the first place. Nova Pro Wrestling, which is no longer around, but it was their second ever event that we got tagged up. We were supposed to, going in, I was going to be wrestling somebody totally different. I get there, things move around as it happens on Independence all the time. Now, boom, Beau, we need you to wrestle Innocent Isaiah. Okay, cool. I've known Innocent Isaiah since he was first getting started in wrestling, so this is fine. We're friends. This will be easy. Next thing you know, the team that is supposed to be wrestling the Bravado Brothers, they were involved at the time. One of them is now Andre Chase in NXT. Yeah. Said, no, we actually need you guys to be a team because we need someone that can wrestle the Bravados. All right, got you. So, like, okay, natural chemistry's there. We can make this work. So that's how it started. It was fun. And after the match was over, we're talking to each other, you know what, this is something we wouldn't mind doing again. So we tell them, like, funny you should say that because we really enjoyed it too. And we were hoping you guys would be willing to be a tag team again. And Cutie and the Beast was born.
That's it. Great things start and have crazy ways of beginning, don't they?
Absolutely.
Speaking of, you were saying you started 11 years ago. What was it that really started the drive for you to begin this?
I have been a lifelong wrestling fan from literally as long as I can remember. I've loved pro wrestling. I probably would have started earlier had I known how to get into wrestling at the time. So my best friend, he knew a guy who was an independent wrestler, and he said, you know what? I work with the guy. Come meet him. Come talk to him. So I did, and he's like, you know what? I'd love to train you. I think you'd be really good at this. And 12 years later, I suppose he wasn't wrong.
You've done great for yourself, man. Who was that? Who was your trainer? I think it was Mike Bennett, wasn't it?
No. Mike has played a small role because he is somebody that I have done a seminar with and got the chance to pick his brain, and somebody that I clicked with immediately. But my trainer was a man named Marty Reed. But I give a lot of my development after that. A lot of that credit goes to Bob Evans, who trained Mike, and is the reason I met Mike. So I would give Marty trained me. He taught me how to wrestle, but really getting good at this and learning how goes to guys like Bob Evans, goes to Mark Rivera, who took me under his wing for a while. It was guys like that really helped me develop beyond my initial training.
Yeah, of course. And while you were training, was there any particular wrestler that you looked at and thought, I want to be like him? I'm going to take aspects from his promo style, his in-ring movement, and I'm going to make it my own and become the man I am now.
I mean, growing up, I was a huge fan and still am of Sting, Shawn Michaels, Macho Man. I do the elbow off the top, which is a shout out to Shawn and Macho Man. I even employ the Scorpion Deathlock from time to time, so there are guys like that I do borrow things from, but I also I'm one of those weird guys that does a little bit of everything. I can fly when I need to. I can get down and throw hands when I need to, or I can be very technical and go hold for.
That's it.
It's a well-rounded style.
Yeah, you take everything. You're not just one trick pony. You just like to incorporate everything and make it your own, eh?
Absolutely.
That's great. One thing I noticed on your Instagram page is you made a post about this year and people you were wanting to wrestle off it. Some of the names were Mike Bennett, James Storm, Darius Lockhart, Ricky Morton, Ace Austin. Why those sort of guys that you really want to go after this year?
Well, Darius and I, that's all mutual respect. Darius and I, we've known each other for a while. We've just never gotten a chance to wrestle each other, and it's something that we both want to do. Mike, it's just someone that I look up to personally, and feel like we have a very similar style. So I feel like that would be fun. Shane Taylor, another mutual respect thing. I've gotten a chance to be around Shane a couple times. It's always fun. We always have positive interactions, and I just feel like it's a contrast in styles there with him being so much bigger than me. It's a chance to tell a whole different story. Ricky, I've done a seminar with Ricky. I've done a ton of events with Ricky. I was actually supposed to wrestle a tag team match with Ricky Morton a few years back, but the NWA needed him more than we did at the time. So he was, I was gutted. So I was like, no, that's on the bucket list. I gotta wrestle Ricky. So most of that stuff is just guys that I've really enjoyed watching or really enjoy their work or identify with them on some level, and just really want to get a chance to get in there and have that first time ever.
Yeah, it's always the first time is the greatest. So it's always the most memorable time as well.
Definitely.
I was looking back as well at your match in CPW, Classic Pro Wrestling, against Rhett Titus, which was a pure rules match.
Yes.
And those types of matches can be quite draining and a lot thinking of, with the rules types. We're working pro rules match. What is it that you've got to think about the most in those types of matches?
Oh, man. If you're going to hit them, you got to be careful how you throw that strike, because a closed fist is illegal. Someone who likes to throw a punch now and then, I got to, rein that in. I've got to, and it was just watching it back, it really felt like that human chess match, because Rhett being so good. Rhett is a machine. Rhett Titus is not human. I don't think that man ever gets tired. I don't think that man ever breaks a sweat. He does break a sweat. I know that firsthand, but I don't think he ever gets tired. I don't think winded is in his vocabulary. I think he had told me all of 2021, he took a grand total of 8 rest days from working out.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Wild.
Yeah, machine. That is a literal machine right there if I've ever heard of one.
Right. And like that match, it was just human chess match, a lot of technical wrestling and things like that. Some things that I don't get to do very often, just because not everyone you get in the ring with has that level of technical skill that Rhett has. So it was a lot of fun and a lot of definite change of pace.
Yeah. speaking of, like the independents and the way they are now, the whole independent scene's completely changed from even 2 or 3 years ago. It's completely
2-3 months ago.
that too. Oh God, it's just ever evolving. Is there anywhere on the independents that is currently catching your attention of, I want to give that a shot because there's good guys there. I can make.
Oh,
magic.
absolutely. PWX, Pro Wrestling Experience in North Carolina. They're a bucket list place that has some guys like Anthony Henry, JD Drake to come in and wrestle there. Darius Lockhart's wrestled there. So something like that. I would love to eventually, make that debut up at Beyond, things of that nature. Battle Club Pro is someplace that I want to go. And actually, ever since their first event, I've been intrigued by EC3's Control Your Narrative. So I'm very, very interesting places to try to go get a little bit of experience with their way of doing things.
Speaking of EC3's Control Your Narrative, you made a wee comment on their post about the rules, saying that it sounds like your kind of fight.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they referred to most things as a fight. I can do that. And at least I think they said no super kicks, no dives.
Yeah, no TKFC does. Just control the narrative. That kind of jazz.
I can do. I don't really even throw a super kick very often, so that's right in my wheelhouse. And I only dive when the occasion really necessitates it. So that's another thing that I can tick off the box. So it just seems like a good time. So EC3, if you're watching, let's make something happen, man.
Beau Crockett versus EC3. I would not mind seeing that as well. Someone else a part of Control Your Narrative, Flip Gordon. I think you two can make some good magic.
Oh, that would be fun. That would be fun. I've been around Flip once or twice. He's a super fun guy. I think I really enjoyed watching his work, so it would be another one that would be probably pretty fun to get in the ring and mix it up with too.
Oh, why not? Why not? Speaking of moving up from the independents, we all know that WWE has NXT as their developmental brand, or sorry, NXT 2.0 as their developmental brand, and now AEW has recently purchased Ring of Honor, which they are apparently going to be making their developmental territory now. What are your thoughts about this, about these two giant companies now having two possible big developmental brands underneath their belts?
I always thought NXT was great. It's such a unique way to get guys kind of acclimated to how they do things. It was actually, NXT has been one of my favorite things to watch in wrestling altogether for years.
Oh, wow.
2.0 is a completely different beast. It has a different feel, different look, different talent. So while it is a bit of a definite change to wrap your head around, because it's very different, but it doesn't make it a bad thing either.
No, exactly. We only change sometimes.
Right. And Ring of Honor potentially being that developmental for AEW, honestly, I think that's a great thing for them too. More opportunities for more people to elevate themselves in wrestling is always the best in my book. As long as there are guys out there getting work and getting opportunities to make their living doing this, I'm always going to be a fan and supporter of that.
That's it. As long as guys are being able to do what they love and then earning from it, that's the main thing at the end of the day, eh?
Exactly.
So let's say a crossroad happens. Beau Crockett is sitting there, Tony's there, Vince is there, and they offer you a contract to NXT 2.0 or Ring of Honor. Is there one that you would immediately jump to? Yeah, I'm going to that one.
Well, given what I know about NXT 2.0, I'm not sure that would be super feasible at the moment, given my age and experience level. But that, again, that is not a knock at all. There's different avenues for everyone. So right now, realistically, it would probably be, the Tony Khan Ring of Honor gig. But, man, if they're both sitting there wanting me to sign, it's hard. It's a hard distinction to make. because they're both so good and so different, and there's so many dream matches on both sides that are there. Honestly, that's a super tough call.
Well, let's speaking of those dream matches, name 3 dream matches you could get from either side.
Oh, me versus Adam Cole, baby.
Boom.
Beau Crockett versus Adam Cole first. Beau Crockett versus John Moxley, because the ongoing joke is that Beau Crockett and John Moxley are the same person because we look alike. So maybe just do like the mirror match. Yeah. And Christian Cage is over there now, and he's one of my all-time favorites. Sting, let me wrestle Sting. I'll retire tomorrow.
Versus Sting, 5 stars from Meltzer. That's it. Done.
Let me wrestle Sting, please. No one will ever be able to tell me anything ever for the rest of my life. But over on the WWE side, Roman Reigns, obviously. Why not go wrestle the Tribal Chief? Roman Reigns would be super fun. Edge, again, another all-time favorite. I've stolen character elements from both Edge and Christian over the years, so that's definitely got to be there. And man, it's hard not to go right into the legends there because Rey Mysterio is still there. Rey Mysterio is still there. Man, I'd love to wrestle Ricochet, Seth Rollins. I mean, the list is more than 3 on either side. That's for sure.
Wow, hey, that's it. You've got your dream matches, and you can always aim towards them. I hope you get there, pal. Let's go across the pond for a minute. Is there anywhere on the foreign territories? We've got ICW here in Scotland. There's New Japan in Japan. Any of those kind of territories interest Beau Crockett to make the leap over?
Absolutely. I would love to come be a part of ICW. I'd love to come wrestle at Progress. The NXT UK guys are guys I want to wrestle. Tyler Bate, Trent Seven, absolutely.
Yes.
New Japan, super, super interesting matchups there too. I mean, I will travel anywhere you need me to travel and wrestle whoever you need me to wrestle.
Hey, if you're worth the travel, that's it, man. That is it. So let's divert a wee part, because I believe you have your own wrestling school as well, don't you, Beau?
Indeed, I do.
Which is Professional Wrestling Alliance, PWA.
Prime Time Wrestling Alliance.
Prime Time.
Yep.
Prime time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're based out of Yorktown, right there in Body by D Gym in Yorktown, Virginia. It's from where we started to where we are now. It's growing. I took over. There were the trainer before me. He was moving to Tennessee, so obviously he wasn't going to be able to keep doing it anymore. There were a handful of guys that were just finishing up their training, and like one guy that was still training. So I took it from one trainee to now. Last year we signed up 14, 15, 16 guys.
Wow.
Something like that. I can't remember what the exact head count was off the top of my head, but it's in the mid-teens. And I mean, it's grown to a point where I've had to hire more people to help me train. It used to just be me there every night.
All on your shoulders, Beau. All on your shoulders.
Yeah. Now I can kind of step back, do a little bit more of the managerial role, still get in there and teach classes on Saturdays when I'm not on the road. On Wednesdays, when I'm not too distracted, getting my workouts in at the gym on Mondays and Tuesdays. I'll end up in the ring half the time doing something anyway.
You must have a hell of a schedule. What is a weekly schedule for you then? Because must have a lot going on.
I do. It's wake up. Sometimes it's wake up early enough to get a round of cardio in the morning. It's go to work from 8 to 5. It's get the workout in, teach class, come home, try to try to maybe relax,
Right.
reach out to promoters about things I already have going on, things that I want to get going on, studying wrestling, because I watch wrestling matches on TV, not for entertainment. I watch it like it's a football player breaking down game tape half the time. So uh, it it's a nonstop for me. I don't really know how to sit still.
No, always working hard, never playing hard, just always working.
Yeah. I adopted the hardest work in the room hashtag for a reason. Because I
Well done.
don't know how
Well,
to stop. If I stop, I'm sleeping.
uh, speaking of breaking down matches, what was a match that you recently broke down and found something that just clicked? I was like, yeah, I can analyze that and work from it.
Man, it's honestly it's watching the more technical things. Like the big moves and things like that. They're always going to be there for me. You know, that I can always figure out how to get there and work the big move in to get the big ooh and ah. For me, I've been breaking down a lot of more of the really nitty gritty technical things. So, watching like Kyle O'Reilly versus Finn Balor, watching Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, I suppose now.
Oh, it's always a hard
Against
distinction.
Mox at Revolution was something that was super fun and interesting to break down just because the aggression, but it wasn't. It was a very physical match, but it didn't need weapons and a lot of gimmicks to get that physical and that aggression out. And that is something that I really appreciate. I'm at my heart, I'm a storyteller. So I want to use whatever aspect or whatever little thing I can to help tell the story that I need to tell at the time. So whether it's just being physical and aggressive and just hammering down on somebody, then yeah. Or if I need to tell you that I'm a better wrestler than you, then that's my story. We use our bodies to tell a story.
Mm-hmm. I've always felt that wrestling is, storytelling at its heart at the end of the day. And speaking of storylines, is there a storyline in the past that you looked to and just thought it's perfection? It's done well. Everything was done to perfection. You could win an Oscar if given the chance.
Man, Sting versus the NWO. Sting versus
The
the
first,
NWO was perfect. In so many ways. I mean, how do you get a guy that over and he doesn't say a word for a year? Doesn't say a word for a year, and he just shows up, and it's one guy against like 20, and he shows up in the ring and they all scatter. Like that's some real superhero storytelling, you know?
yeah, that whole underdog and mysterious look, and it's a guy you look at and hey, he's not speaking. Don't fuck with him. Just bolt. Just bolt.
Right. And I guess more recently, it's hard to say it was just two matches, but that whole arc of Undertaker versus Shawn, which rolled into Undertaker versus Triple H and then into the Hell in a Cell match. That was just very, very good long-term storytelling.
Yeah. Long-term storytelling is always the best when it works out.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's go from the positive scale to the negative scale. What is a storyline that you look at and think this is utter shite?
Oh man. Probably things I've done. Man, some things you just see are just kind of blatant rip-offs of things that have already been done. I don't really want to cast aspersions to people that have on the people that have been places that I am not. But some of the blatant NWO ripoffs you see over the years, aside from the Bullet Club, because the Bullet Club having been so well done for so long. But some of the things that were NWO wannabes, I guess. You saw 1,000 of them on the Independents. They were all bad.
Never the finest when you're trying to copy a masterpiece.
Yeah, any NWO ripoff is just bad. whether it was on the independents, whether it was in another major company along the way, anything that you just were like, man, they're just really trying to do the NWO over again, just wasn't good.
It never works out. It never works out. Going back to your wrestling school as well, it's very admirable that you've taken on this whole responsibility of training the next future generation of wrestlers as well. You must hear some people come in and say, "Oh, this is my favorite match, and this is who I want to be." What's the one that's like, "Oh, that match, that person you're really idolizing," that's like caught you off guard? Like, "Oh, okay."
You see a guy who comes in and he's not in great shape, but they want to be their hero's Rey Mysterio or something like that. It's never the wrestler itself that catches me off guard, so to speak. It's the person that wants to be that wrestler. You see a guy who comes in, he's barely 5'4", but he wants to be Randy Orton. Things of that nature. It's not, like I said, it's not who they're idolizing and want to be like. It's the person that idolizes them. And I mean, right down to myself included. There's no way I was going to be Shawn Michaels. Why would I want to be the next anyone? I always tell the guys, and it's now kind of cliche as far as wrestling development goes anyway. Why would you want to be the next anyone when you can be the first you?
That is a pretty good lesson to learn by, especially in this business as well.
Yeah.
That is really good. I mean, yeah, cheers to that. That's pretty good, actually, man. What about matches as well? You must hear people talk about their favorite matches all the time. Is there one that really sticks out to you that you hear a lot?
The first thing I always ask people is who their favorite wrestler is, and eventually get around to who what their favorite match is. And of course, as I get older, my trainees get younger. The who their favorite is end up being more varied, and I'm like, man, you didn't see such and such, like you've never seen Dusty versus Flair, and then I end up going and assigning them homework to watch this match. But I see a lot of I see some more recent things. I see a lot of Shawn versus Taker from WrestleMania, which beautiful match. Why wouldn't it be someone's favorite match? I hear a lot of Chris Benoit redacted, I guess, versus Kurt Angle from Royal Rumble, which is another great match. Whatever you want to say about Chris Benoit, he was one of the greats in the ring. He was someone that, watching his matches back, when you can find them, they're great matches to watch. He was so good. My personal favorite match is the Iron Man match, Bret versus Shawn.
A true classic.
Yeah. Of course, you hear a lot of Ricky Steamboat versus Macho Man from WrestleMania 3. You'll hear things like that. I think one of the more modern matches that I think I've ever heard. Some of the Adam Cole Gargano stuff is probably the most recent things I've ever heard of someone say it might be their favorite match ever.
All right, okay.
But though that was a great series of matches, so you can't knock it. You can't. Yeah. I mean, if that's your favorite match, that's your favorite match. I've been watching wrestling for years, and one of my instant classic matches that I can go back to and watch anytime is AJ Styles versus John Cena at Royal Rumble. That was an instant classic.
Is training wrestlers very hard at the end of the day? Because you must make it like each training program very person-centered as well.
Yes. I mean, obviously there are going to be things that they all have to learn. So when it comes to learning the basics, that part is a little bit easier as far as what I'm teaching everyone. But when it comes to how each individual person learns, that is the real challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Because not everyone can pick up on things as fast as everyone else. Like I was a quick study. I've got guys in class that pick up things very fast, but I have guys in class that pick up things very slow. So not everyone learns at the same pace. So you have to figure out exactly how to teach everyone. Because some people are going to beat themselves up to a point where if I go in and start yelling at them over it, they're going to shut down. That's more of a challenge than as they progress finding what works for each individual guy, because they'll start telling you what they want to learn when they get confident and like, hey, I feel like this could be my style. And then you can say like, yeah, that absolutely works for you, and you help them go down that rabbit hole further. You're like, hey, why don't we tweak this, and this and try that and try it this way? Maybe that'll be a better fit. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So it's all trial and error. The Beau Crockett you see sitting in front of you right now is not the Beau Crockett that was here 11 years ago. The Beau Crockett 11 years ago is probably a very boring character compared to what I've done since then.
Yeah. It's always evolution at the end of the day, always changing and developing into who we are and as now. You must get some people that are like built like maybe more of a brawler and they're trying to be like a cruiserweight sort of thing. How do you try and break that barrier of being like, I know you want to be like this, but at the end of the day, you're best suited for this?
I've gotten to the point where when it gets to that, it's not as hard to break the news to them, so to speak, because as they've gotten in there and started to train, they realize what they're physically capable of. And if there's still a little bit of that disconnect for them, then I'll just take the kid gloves off. Be like, hey man, that's just not going to work for you. Like, can you do a backflip? No. Okay, then you're not going to do that.
Hey, that's it. That's it. If you had to say what was the starting point for someone to train, what's the first thing you immediately try to train them and get them to master first before moving on?
Can you learn how to fall down on purpose and not kill yourself? Can you learn how to take that bump? Because if you can't, there's honestly no point in me trying to teach you anything else. When I'm running the day-to-days and someone's brand new day one, all of the guys that have recently graduated would tell you their first day, the only thing they did was take bumps. All class long. They'd take bump. I'd give them a break, let the other guys get in and do some other stuff, then give them a break. You're back in, bump. And man, I had someone bumping so much, I was just off to the side having a full-blown conversation with somebody. I was mostly on purpose, just because I knew he was going to do nothing but bump today. Because you have to do it, and you have to get to a point where you don't think about it. Yeah. Now, if I see that you can do it, and it's not you're not going to be an issue, I'll start teaching you other things rather than just making you bump forever. But I've had people that have only made it to a couple of classes just because they couldn't get that down, or they couldn't get it down without hitting their back of their head on the mat every single time. You can only scramble the egg so many times.
Yeah. You need to keep it all hard boiled and not mushed. How long do these like bumping drills go on for? Can they go on for like maybe a couple of hours max, or do you just try and push them to their limits?
I mean, it'll be class is generally a couple of hours. So first couple of times going to be predominantly that, unless you picked up on it really fast. If you picked up on it really fast, I learned all the bumps and was learning how to lock up and do the fundamental chain wrestling and things like that on the first night. But not everyone is like that. And I don't even say that to toot my own horn, because there's still things I don't know I don't do. I'm not a high flyer. I don't do backflips. So there are guys that are much more physically capable of things that I can't do. But that doesn't mean that I'm not as good as they are. It just means that I have a different skill set. because I guarantee I'm stronger than they are.
Go for an old arm wrestling competition and some dominance sort of thing, eh?
I got a pretty good stalling suplex. I got a pretty good moonsault. You know, we'll
Boom.
train
That's all you need. Obviously, a lot of people, most people know that the ring, it ain't a trampoline. It ain't all cushions. You must get some people who come in and be like, whoa, that's the ring. It's like that. It's not nice and comfortable.
Right. And those are the ones that typically don't last long. The first, I mean, they'll adjust. Some will adjust, don't get me wrong. But some that take the first one and their eyes bug out of their head, you get a little nervous. They're like, this guy might not be here that long if he's got this reaction to doing this one time. Before I get people in the ring for the first time, I usually tell them, hey, take a good mental note and kind of mental checklist to how you feel at this moment right now, because you are not going to feel this way in the morning.
Oh, they're going to be
never feel
battered.
this way again.
They're going to be battered and bruised. Battered and bruised. You mentioned earlier about giving your students homework. If you had to go to someone that's like, hey, you want to do this? I'm going to give you these 3 matches to watch, to learn the psychology, everything about it. What would these matches be and why?
Specific matches, it's hard to say, but I will tell them to watch specific people.
Okay.
Man, anything with Ricky Morton or Arn Anderson will teach you fundamentals. No one in wrestling is a more believable person selling than Ricky Morton.
Wow.
The closest in modern day terms, I would say, is Johnny Gargano. But probably no one in the history of wrestling it sells better than Ricky Morton. And Arn Anderson, no one is probably more fundamental than Arn. And how he sells, how he does things, how he registers, how he moves. If you want a quintessential, this is a pro wrestler, Arn Anderson. He didn't do anything flashy. He didn't do anything spectacular. So if you want to learn the basics, watch those guys. Okay. Now, in terms of storytelling, character work, it's your Macho Mans, it's your Roddy Pipers, it's your Ric Flairs, it's guys like that you never go wrong. Chris Jericho, guys that were over the top with their characters. Some guys will come in and say, hey, The Rock's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Well, cool. Rock's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, too. Go watch him cut promos, man. It'll be the best ever. But as far as the fundamentals of how to do things, I usually always take it back to the old school.
That's it. You always learn the best from the past. The past always teaches the future.
Mm-hmm. That's it. And especially since some of these younger guys have never watched anything from them. So
that must surprise you, though. Like a lot of these new guys, just like, right, you got to go watch this old past stuff. You never heard of this, or like you never heard of that. It must be good. Like, oh, geez, come on, learn from the past.
At first, they think it's boring, and then they come in and tell me how good it was.
These young kids, man, all think they have to do spots and all that. They can't just have
hey, they have their place. Spots have their place. I do them myself, but it's taking that psychology, the storytelling elements, and giving them a reason to care about the spot. That's the important thing. I don't care if you do spots. I honestly don't. As long as it makes sense and you can make people care about them, that's what's important.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's got to have a meaning, and it's going to be connecting with the audience. You can't just do it and then have maybe one guy stand up and go woo. You want the whole audience to get in there, engaged, and be off their feet.
Exactly. Like you can do the big spot and the big spot, the big high spot, the big flip, the dive, whatever. Doesn't matter. And you can get the crowd to ooh and ah. But if you didn't give them a reason to care, they may not remember who you are on the drive home. It'll be the guy that did the thing.
Yeah, that's it. He's like, oh, yeah, I love that guy doing that. Oh, you remember that guy who did the flippy dippy shit? It's like, yeah. But the guy who was able to like cry when telling his story, yeah, that's the guy.
Right. I always draw the parallel to Ricochet for the guys who like to do the flips and the super big high spots like that. Like Ricochet can do everything, but Ricochet makes you care about the fact that he did it.
Mm.
It wasn't Ricochet did this thing and I forgot about it half an hour later. It's Ricochet did this thing and I remember the whole match.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
it.
the series of matches he did with AJ where he's out there mushroom hopping across the Good Brothers to go hit the Rana on AJ. You know, things like that. That's not, he makes you care about that.
Yeah.
Like, I remember that he did it because the match was good. The story was good. It was him overcoming the odds. You know, it wasn't just, we're going to go out here and do a bunch of things just because we can.
Yeah, absolutely agree, Bo. Well, our time is coming to an end here on the Soul Session. So what I always like to do with the people I have on is like, have you got any upcoming dates that people can come see Beau Crockett in person?
Yeah. Next Saturday, March 26th, I will be in Waldorf, Maryland for Assault Wrestling Alliance, March Madhouse. We'll maybe have a link in the video. Maybe follow me on social media at its bow time on Twitter, which is sorely unused. But if you really want to follow me close, add me on Facebook, Beau WP Crockett, or follow me on Instagram, and that's BC versus the World. May 14th, I will be in Chincoteague, Virginia for Eastern Shore Pro Wrestling in a submission match against Joey Paris. That's going to be fun, just because not everyone gets to see how many submission holds I know, and I know how many submission holds I know. So,
Boy, Jericho, watch out! Your list is about to come outdated, my friend.
But yeah, those are the two that I have off the top of my head. Working on some other things. You can always come check out the wrestling school. Come follow your dreams. Pro Wrestling Alliance, Primetime Wrestling Alliance. You can go to bodybydgym.com and check out the school, check out our operating hours. Classes are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 6 to 8 right now, and my 12:30 classes when I'm not on the road. I'm always happy to help. Even if you are a young wrestler and you want extra ring time and you're in the area, come by, come see me. We can still help. You never stop learning. Been doing this almost 12 years. I'm always learning. I'm always picking somebody's brain. If I don't know if you have a question for me and I don't know the answer, I probably know someone who does.
That's it. Every day is a school day, and we will have the links to all of these down in the description below.
Yes.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here. I wish you all the best the rest of the day.
Thank you. Thank you.
No worries. And all the viewers, it's been a good one. This is Soul signing off. Have a good day.